I transmigrated into a redemption novel as the male supporting character. I spent a full 10 years healing the unhinged female lead. After 10 years, she became a sunny, cheerful girl. But just today, the true male lead returned. They were a perfect match, talented and beautiful. Naturally, there was no room left for me. I lied to the girl, saying I was going to buy her sweet osmanthus cakes from North Chicago, and then I just left. I never expected that 2 years later, I'd be invited back to the country. The moment I got off the plane, I was bundled into a car. The girl had reverted to her former unhinged state, her voice laced with madness. "Brother, it's been 2 years. Where are my osmanthus cakes?" I never imagined that I, an ordinary college student, would transmigrate into a redemption novel as the male supporting character. Ava, the female lead, was beaten and scolded by her parents since childhood. Her tragic upbringing made her unhinged, though on the surface, she was obedient and docile. And I was the Ashworth family's adopted son, her unrelated older brother. We met when we were older, and I was arranged to live with her and take care of her. The first time we met, she prepared flowers for me. But that night, a venomous snake slithered out from among them. The next morning, at the breakfast table, I asked casually, "Where'd you catch the venomous snake?" Ava's expression didn't change. Her posture was calm. "What are you talking about, brother? I don't understand." As she said this, Ava blinked, looking utterly innocent. I smiled, got up, and went to the kitchen to bring out a pot of soup. "Right, you're still young. This is a soup I stewed this morning, to nourish you." With that, I ladled a bowl for her. "Thank you, brother." Ava smiled very obediently. Gold-rimmed glasses, almond-shaped eyes, a pert nose and cherry lips. Her features, though not yet fully developed, were already exceptionally beautiful. I watched her take a spoonful of soup, then suddenly smiled. "Those glasses suit you very well." She paused. "Are you complimenting me, brother?" "Emicham," I suppressed my smile. "They make you look very obedient." "Ava, let me ask you a question. Is soup made from a venomous snake poisonous?" The next second, she knocked over the soup bowl. The steaming hot soup spilled all over the floor, some splashing onto her. I feigned surprise. "How could you be so careless? Did you get burned?" "No." Ava bit her lip, seemingly enduring something. "Thank you. I'm going to change. You eat by yourself." Then she stormed upstairs. I sat at the dining table, idly fiddling with the soup spoon. Still a child, indeed unable to hide things. She likes to study medicine. How could she not even know that venomous snake soup isn't poisonous? My university, AU, and Ava's school, AU Prep, were very close. Therefore, we usually went to school together. "Hurry up, you're going to be late." I waved to her from the car. A flash of annoyance crossed Ava's face before she reverted to her docile and harmless demeanor. We sat in the back seat. The driver had long since raised the partition, obscuring the view from the front. I caught a glimpse of the smile vanishing from Ava's lips, and my own lips couldn't help but curl. "Ava," I suddenly leaned my head towards her, whispering, "You're still an amateur at this." Her lips were pressed into a thin line, probably wondering how I knew her true self. I pulled out a snake-shaped brooch and tossed it into her hand, smiling. "You're still young. You can't hide your tail." I had awakened the day before I met Ava. Through a dream, I saw the entire plot. Because it was a redemption novel, Ava was beaten and abused since childhood, had a tragic upbringing, and bullying me and stirring up trouble were standard fare. Before meeting the male lead, she would turn the household upside down until the male lead saw through her disguise and redeemed her. But unfortunately for her, I was the modern-day disciplinarian. Unhinged, mentally ill, all treated as disobedience. A child always in a bad mood, most likely faking it. A good beating would sort it out. The next day, the way Ava looked at me changed. Like a snake that had been lying in wait, she began to cautiously observe her prey, preparing to strike. "Come, eat." I still smiled gently. "Ava, that soup yesterday was too unexpected. I've decided not to cook anymore, so don't look at me so warily." "You're not afraid of snakes." She snorted coldly and sat down. I continued to smile at her. "I'm not afraid of anything." "Really?" Ava's face was expressionless. "Then I'll test them one by one, to see what you're afraid of." "All right." I lowered my eyes, suddenly saying something completely unrelated. When I was in the orphanage, my bed had not just snakes, but centipedes, cockroaches, slugs, and the like were commonplace. Your family has been very good to me. I haven't seen bugs in a long time. Junghal, you can show me if I'm still afraid of them. Mr. and Mrs. Ashworth were both very busy. Theirs was a marriage of convenience between families. Under one roof, two hearts drifted far apart, each prioritizing their own interests. Ava was one of their few common interests, and I was the person they trusted to take care of her. Therefore, I wasn't surprised at all when I received a call from Ava's homeroom teacher. Hello? Is this Ava's brother? What surprised me was the teacher's grave tone. This child beat a classmate so badly he's in the hospital. It's alarmed the school leadership. She will be disciplined. To be honest, Ava was a very good actress. She had been a model student since childhood, praised by teachers and classmates alike with terms like gentle and refined, and mature and steady. Even if this little venomous snake truly disliked someone and poisoned them to get a rash, it was never discovered. But this time, the nature of the incident was different. Why did you assault your classmate? Only Ava stood in the office. The classmate she had beaten had already been sent to the hospital. I saw his photo, face bruised and swollen, his body even worse. A girl raised with violence since childhood, she had become skilled in mixed martial arts. These injuries clearly showed she had intended to cause serious harm. The homeroom teacher slammed his hand on the table. Do you have any idea that if you had hit him a little harder, you could have killed him? Ava didn't move, just glanced at us expressionlessly. That look was inexplicably chilling. It was a side of her I had never seen. The homeroom teacher was about to continue his tirade. But in the next second, I stood up, my actions faster than my thoughts. Teacher, let me speak with Ava alone. There must be some misunderstanding. Our Ava isn't such a violent girl. Why did you hit him? This was the third time I had asked her this question. Ava still didn't speak, turning her head coolly to look outside. Ineffective communication. I was about to die of anger from this rebellious girl. You're not going to talk? Fine, do whatever you want. I'm leaving. You'd better hope you can survive your parents. The Ashworth parents were extremely strict with her. Consistently being number one was the bare minimum, not to mention obeying rules and laws. The slightest displeasure would result in them beating Ava half to death, without mercy. I held my forehead, silently wondering why she hadn't been beaten into submission yet. Are you worried about me? Ava suddenly spoke, looking up at me, her expression docile. Shouldn't you be wishing I were dead? I paused. That being said, she was, after all, only 15. Having experienced such an upbringing, managing to pretend to be a good student was already commendable. If I really wished you were dead, I would have told your parents long ago, I sighed. Besides, you haven't been throwing poisonous bugs into my room anymore. The next day, I took Ava to school again. The homeroom teacher's anger hadn't subsided, and it even extended to me. What exactly happened? Is Ava going to apologize or not? Where are her parents? Why is it always you? What good are you? That classmate is still in the hospital on an 4 drip. Ava's hand suddenly clenched into a fist. I noticed, took her hand, and squeezed it reassuringly, not noticing how her whole body tensed. Teacher, you should be glad he's currently on an 4 drip. I was smiling, but I pushed a USB drive towards him. Otherwise, if it were me, I might have beaten that classmate until he was paralyzed. The USB drive contained a recording made by a female classmate who had witnessed the whole thing. After school, Ava stayed behind for cleaning duty and was harassed by that classmate. Well, Miss High and Mighty, finally deigning to clean by yourself today? We were just saying, you fatherless, motherless thing, you were born to be hit with cleaning tools. The Ashworth couple kept a low profile, not only not sending Ava to a private school, but also never showing their faces. The clothes they gave her were also very old, and the tasks they set were extremely strict. Failure to complete them meant a beating. Over time, rumors spread in the school that she had no parents. Beaten was Ava's biggest trigger. In the end, the homeroom teacher's face turned shades of red and green, and I just held Ava's hand, coldly stating, I demand that you, that classmate, and his parents publicly apologize to Ava. Don't say I didn't warn you. Our Ashworth family has money, keeps a low profile, but we hold grudges. Liam. Ava knocked on the door. I didn't turn around. Come in. What is it? She was holding a few white roses, still dewy, and stammered a bit. The roses in the garden bloomed. I cut some for you to put in the vase in your room. I raised an eyebrow and turned to look at her. The young girl placed the flowers in the vase. White flowers, very beautiful. Why aren't you calling me brother anymore? I suddenly spoke. When you first came, you called me brother with every other word. Ava looked very flustered. I smiled again. And why aren't there any venomous snakes hidden in today's flowers? Stop tormenting the snakes in the garden. They're quite pitiful being messed with by you all day. The young girl had never learned to apologize. The newly changed roses in the room, the steaming hot milk on the dining table, and even a black card that inexplicably appeared in my bag. Keep it yourself. I tossed the black card onto the table. Your parents only gave it to you. If it inexplicably appears on me, what will they think when they see it? Ava looked up at me slightly, pursed her lips, looking very obedient. I sighed. I'm not holding a grudge for what you did before. I didn't say I was apologizing either. Teenage girls are always saying one thing and meaning another. She stammered a bit as she said this, endearingly Tsundra. After speaking, she added, You don't buy any nice clothes. You don't even look like a college student. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so that afternoon I went to the mall. Just as I was about done shopping, someone suddenly tapped my shoulder. It was a handsome man, not stunning but inexplicably captivating. Hello. His smile held a hint of scrutiny. Mr. Supporting Character, may I ask how my female lead is doing under your tutelage? Here you go. I returned home with a pile of bags and tossed the black card onto the desk. Ava didn't take it, instead looking up at the spoils of war behind me. You, a male college student, can buy this much when you go shopping? I raised an eyebrow. Are you worried about the money? No. She looked away, her voice suddenly dropping. You didn't bring a bodyguard, you can't carry it all. You could have brought someone to help you. How did you know I didn't bring a bodyguard? Ava paused. I couldn't help but smile and ruffle her hair. Then next time you go shopping, bring me to help you carry things. The girl's face flushed. She turned her head away and said stiffly, We'll talk about it next time. Ava, in reality, was just a child. A child who is well loved. How bad can they truly be? The next day, I received a call from the homeroom teacher. After learning Ava's true identity, he was noticeably more polite. I've already explained the previous misunderstanding to that classmate's parents. After discussion, we've decided to publicly apologize to student Ava Ashworth at today's flag-raising ceremony. Are you free to attend on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Ashworth? At that moment, Ava was listening beside me with disdain. I smiled. Okay, I'll be there. He's being so polite to you. Was there something else on the USB drive you gave him that day? She asked. I slowly put down my phone and sighed. You're so smart, little Ava. That snobbish homeroom teacher of yours probably gave you a lot of grief before. So I also found evidence of him secretly accepting red envelopes from parents and backed it up on the USB drive as a threat. Ava was silent for about half a minute. Just when I thought she wouldn't speak, a warm touch suddenly came to the side of my face. Got it? She said, deliberately pinching my cheek as if retaliating for me patting her head earlier. Don't always call me little Ava. At the flag-raising ceremony, Ava and I stood at the very front. She was wearing the new dress I bought her, looking clean, beautiful, and stunning, yet exuding a cool detachment. On the stage, the classmate was reading his apology to her. After finishing, he had to bow, as if Ava were some important leader. Basking in your glory, future CO Ashworth, I teased in a low voice. Ava didn't speak, but her hand restlessly tugged at the corner of my sweatshirt. Somehow, my heart skipped a beat, and I subconsciously looked down at the crowd. It was nothing, no classmates noticed us, but someone else did. Hi! The male lead I had met in the mall that day was standing ramrod straight at the very edge. He smiled and mouthed, Liam, well done. Then he turned and walked away. Life passed by uneventfully. Like every high school student, Ava had few holidays and would do her homework at home until very late. Occasionally, I would find her sneaking off to her basement laboratory to tinker with things. If you do anything else that endangers public safety, I'll have the police confiscate all your messy stuff. I cornered Ava at the door, threatening her. By this time, she was almost an adult, yet she only reached my chest. She kept her eyes down, not looking at me, showing no sign of admitting her mistake. I was wrong. She said it very seriously, but her hand at some point had grabbed the corner of my clothes. What did you say? My body inexplicably stiffened. I can't hear you. Ava obediently leaned closer and repeated it. The distance suddenly closed, her eyes fixed on me. She had taken off her glasses, and her gaze seemed to carry a deliberate allure. But the next second, I suddenly pulled her over, our noses touching. She was caught off guard. "Liam!" I didn't respond. I pushed up the sleeve on her wrist. "What's this bruise here?" Ava was already a senior in high school. More than 2 years had passed since I met the male lead. "That's the female lead's black card in your hand, right? She's that good to you?" He had asked me that in the mall. "According to the plot, shouldn't she be torturing you to death? What about you? Why have you appeared now?" I looked at him warily, taking a few steps back to create distance. The male lead's name was Felix. Just as described in the book, he was handsome and refined, not as strikingly handsome as the supporting male character, but he had an aura that drew attention wherever he went. "Of course, because I've awakened too." Felix smiled gently, but I inexplicably found it hard to get close to him. "Liam," he enunciated clearly, "I have no desire to deal with a rebellious teenage girl." I looked up. "What do you want to do?" "Don't be so vigilant." He laughed out loud. "You know, the plot cannot be reversed. We all must abide by it. Ava will still belong to me in the end, and you can't change your fate as just a supporting male character. Since that's the case, your task is to teach her well for me, and also to repay the Ashworth family for yourself." Ava started avoiding me. She refused to tell me about the bruises on her body, and my questioning yielded no results, leaving me unsure of what to do. We fell into a cold war. Until one day I received a phone call. The voice on the other end sounded familiar, gentle yet hollow. Felix laughed through the receiver. "It's been 2 years. Let's meet, Liam." I had never actually known Felix's identity. Other than him being the male lead, me being the supporting male character, and him appearing to be around our age, I knew nothing about him. Conversely, he knew a lot about me. "Why haven't I seen you go back to the orphanage to visit?" Winter had long set in. The waiter brought over hot coffee. Felix blew on his cup before slowly asking me, "Or do you really think that after a few years with the Ashworth family, you've completely changed?" "None of your business," I said coldly. He smiled. "You know nothing about me." Felix's understanding of the plot was much deeper than mine. He not only knew my background but also appeared right after I had managed to deal with Ava, assigning me tasks. I truly didn't understand him. "Then are you so sure Ava will be completely obedient to you?" Felix suddenly burst out laughing. He put down his coffee, his voice slightly cold. "If she doesn't fall in love with me, the male lead, is she going to fall in love with you?" During the half-month Cold War with Ava, I finally had time to go home. I decided to probe a bit, to ask about the young girl's romantic situation. Because if this was a redemption novel, then when the male lead's task of redeeming her fell to me, the entire story should change. The factor causing the story to change is the protagonist's inclination. I didn't believe a book where characters awakened could still follow a predetermined path. But I also wasn't sure if she felt the same way about me. Ring, ring, ring. But I waited until dark and Ava still hadn't returned. 3 calls went unanswered. With less than half a year before the college entrance exams, even if she was on duty, she would come home early to study. Something was wrong today. I thought of the bruises on her body again, grabbed my keys, and was about to go to the school to find her. Bang! But the next second, the main door seemed to be smashed open by something heavy. I stood at the top of the stairs, frozen in place when I saw the dark figure behind the door. It was Ava. The one who had just smashed open the door was Ava, kicked against it by Mr. Ashworth. The thin girl, with blood at the corner of her mouth, her face pale, collapsed almost powerlessly to the ground. Before I could rush over to help her up, I saw Felix running out from behind Mr. Ashworth. He looked panicked, like an innocent little white flower. "Please calm down. Ava didn't do it on purpose." I didn't know what happened. I only remembered Felix's peacemaking demeanor and Ava lying on the ground, barely breathing. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. "You're awake." Ava had slept for a day and a night. Her left hand was fractured, and she had multiple bruises on her body. When she opened her eyes, they were still a bit cloudy, as if she might shatter at any moment. Yet, these past few days I had nourished her quite well. I clutched her hand, my own inexplicably trembling, repeatedly checking her condition. "I'll go call the nurse. Don't cry." Ava's fingertips brushed my eye corner, bringing out a slight wetness. I hadn't even realized I was crying from distress. Weren't you, always someone who didn't like to cry? I turned my head away, sniffled. You saw wrong. She smiled a little, then hissed as it pulled at the wounds on her body. I pressed the call bell by the bed, waited for the nurse to come, then Jenanda asked her, "What on earth happened?" My conversation with Felix that day ended unpleasantly for him. Before leaving, he left me with a sentence. Even if she falls in love with someone else, she can only choose me. She cannot defy the plot. What I thought was the plot were the forced coincidences in the book. But I never expected Felix to be Mr. Ashworth's most satisfactory marriage prospect. Are you feeling any other discomfort? After the nurse left, I poured Ava a glass of warm water and fed her some with a spoon. The young girl's eyes were sparkling, staring straight at me. As long as my hand is injured, will you always feed me like this? For some reason, I felt her gaze was a bit fervent. This sentence also carried a strange implication. I will, I pursed my lips, but you'd better not get hurt, it pains me. Ava seemed not to expect me to answer this way, visibly stunned. I sighed and fed her another mouthful. Why on earth didn't you tell me that classmate didn't admit his mistake? She didn't speak. I feigned anger. Still not talking? Do you have to wait until I see you beaten, crippled by your father before you'll talk? The atmosphere was silent for 2 seconds. Then she finally said, "That bastard. He secretly took your photo and spread rumors." I had never imagined that Ava's troubles were because of me. That classmate was unconvinced but knew he couldn't confront her directly. So he realized he could use me. He photoshopped your picture and went to the AU forum to create a slanderous post, threatening me that if I didn't kneel to him, he would spread it everywhere, because after the public apology, the whole school knew you were at AU. You know my father detests improper conduct the most and looks down on pretty boys who use their looks to get ahead. He admires you, but he would also discard you without hesitation for this, trampling you into the mud. So for over 2 years, the young girl had been enduring for my sake, concealing her injuries. It wasn't until a few days ago that she finally smashed his phone and threw away the USB drive where he had backed up my photos, finally finding relief. She beat him up and threatened him with a potion from her basement lab. It was supposed to be flawless, but somehow Mr. Ashworth found out. He smashed the basement and beat Ava until her bone fractured. With only a month left before the college entrance exams, Ava stayed in the hospital to study and would go directly to the exams from there. Her hand wouldn't recover before the exams. Thankfully, it was her left hand, not her right. When I pushed open the hospital room door, Ava wasn't there. Through the window, I saw Felix pushing her in a wheelchair in the garden outside, enjoying the sun. Ava was smiling. The atmosphere between them seemed very good. My heart inexplicably tightened, and I looked away. Liam, Mr. Ashworth. I quickly turned my head and greeted him in a low voice. Why are you here? Not busy, just came to see. Mr. Ashworth looked refined and gentle, completely different from his violent demeanor that day. We stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the pair in the garden below. You weren't here these past few days. Felix has been taking care of her a lot, Mr. Ashworth suddenly said. The youngest son of the Felix family, good personality, well-spoken, much more pleasing to the eye than Ava. They are quite a match. I plan to arrange their engagement after she graduates. I lowered my eyes and nodded. Indeed, you've spent so much time with Ava. Coincidentally, she's graduating. You should prepare to study abroad for a while. Liam, you know, both Mrs. Ashworth and I admire you very much. The future Ashworth family will need you, but Ava doesn't. He had laid it all bare. Mr. Ashworth actually knew everything. He was just reminding me. All right, I understand. After he left, I kept watching Felix and Ava in the garden. They both had faint smiles on their faces. She seemed to have never been so gentle with any man other than me. So this was the male lead. The college entrance exams ended quickly. On the day they finished, I went to pick her up with a bouquet of flowers. Liam, Ava's left hand was inconvenient, but it didn't stop her from hugging me. The young girl carried the gentle scent of roses. She smiled and took the flowers from my hand, seeming happier than she had ever been. Are we going out to eat? Did she know she was going to be engaged after the exams ended? I paused, and my phone screen suddenly lit up. It was Felix. He said, 5 p.m. flight this afternoon. I'll see you off. It doesn't matter. Anyway, she definitely didn't know that once the exams were over, I was leaving. Liam, why are you spacing out again? This was the third time Ava had asked me this question. Throughout the meal, I was frequently distracted. Sorry? I poured a glass of water, lying without changing my expression. I didn't sleep well last night. Why? Worried about your exams. Ava smiled. She seemed very happy today, happier than any day before. Then you can sleep well tonight. It was now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. To catch the flight, Felix had told me to leave by 3. We quickly finished our meal. Ava and I stood on the street. Because we were both strikingly attractive, people frequently glanced at us. Young man, your girlfriend is beautiful, wanna buy a flower? An old woman selling flowers approached us. I froze, and before I could refuse, Ava had paid. No need, I'll give it to him. Just 1 stem is fine, thank you. By the time I reacted, a dewy white rose was already in my hand. Just buying 1 stem? I thought with her usual grand style, she would have bought them all without hesitation. It wasn't like she hadn't done it before. But Ava just smiled and shook her head. 1 stem, I only need 1 stem, no more for anyone else. Ava was very happy today, even though I didn't know why she was so happy. Liam, let's go to Northwood Park today. Let me go buy you something to eat. I interrupted her first. Ava's smile faded. Didn't we just finish eating? I've been wanting to try those sweet osmanthus cakes from North Chicago for a long time. I forced myself to lie to her, a smile plastered on my face. I've always wanted to bring you some to try. I've thought about it for a long time, and I wanted to do it today. Perhaps she was moved by my feigned sincerity. The young girl pursed her lips and nodded. It was 2:55. Turning around, through the building opposite, I saw the car parked by the roadside. In the driver's seat sat Felix. I clutched the single white rose tightly in my hand and got into the car. Felix glanced at me. Tisk, all you can take away is 1 rose. I didn't say anything. I just leaned back in the seat, very slowly covering my eyes with the flower. As the worthless supporting male character in this redemption novel, 1 rose was enough to buy out the 3 years between her and me. I majored in finance. Although Mr. Ashworth was a violent man, his status and wealth were substantial, allowing me to complete my studies smoothly and graduate from a top global university. 5 years had passed by now. I finally had time to go to the bank and check the card that had been receiving regular deposits. This was the card Mr. Ashworth had given me for living expenses abroad. But I hardly used it, mostly earning money through odd jobs, and wouldn't touch it unless absolutely necessary. As a result, I only discovered today that money hadn't been deposited into this card for a very, very long time. Can I see the domestic bank from which the last deposit was made to this card? The trusted bank employee was a Chinese man. He joked with me, you have time to check the source of the deposits. Why don't you go back and see for yourself? In the 5 years I was abroad, I never went back once. Not only that, to completely escape the predestined fate of Ava and Felix as the female and male leads, I even changed my number and deleted all their contact information. This was all Mr. Ashworth's doing. To put it bluntly, apart from this card, it seemed I had no ties left with the Ashworth family. The understanding back then was that when the time came, he would have someone notify me abroad to return. Kicking me out was for Ava and Felix's relationship. Bringing me back was to ensure a return on his investment in me. But now, I hadn't received any notification at all. I decided to buy a plane ticket back home. 5 years had passed. Ava should have graduated from college and, after her engagement, married smoothly. Felix skipped the redemption phase and went straight to a happy ending with her. And when I returned at this time, I would truly become Ava's brother, her helper. While packing, my landlady asked me, bringing so much, are you planning to come back? I thought for a moment, then answered, yes, but I want them to return with me and see the great land of our mother country too. With that, I tossed a small bottle in. Inside the bottle was a pile of dried flower petals. It was the rose the young girl had given me 5 years ago. Are you all right, sir? I went to the restroom and threw up right after getting off the plane. I get airsick and carsick, so even when I was abroad, I rarely went out, let alone dated. I had very little social interaction. I waved my hand. I'm fine, thank you. Dragging my luggage out of the airport, I stood by the roadside fumbling for a long time, unable to figure out how to use the domestic ride-hailing apps. Beep beep. A taxi pulled over. I was getting frustrated, so I just got in. Where to? The Ashworth Group building? Can you find the way? Because the discomfort from airsickness hadn't subsided, I kept my eyes closed to rest during the journey. Just when I got in the car, I saw a white rose placed inside. This made me subconsciously glance at the driver in the rearview mirror. It was actually a girl. She seemed very young, wearing a black baseball cap and a black mask, not talking much, except for the first sentence. I closed my eyes and leaned back in the seat to rest. Until the car stopped, I opened my eyes, and the noise of the road had completely disappeared. My heart skipped a beat. The surroundings outside the car felt inexplicably familiar. Suburbs, a villa, a visible golf course in the backyard. We're here. In that instant, I seemed to sense something. I turned my head and looked at the driver's seat. The girl, having removed her hat and mask, was very pale, making her eyes look red and swollen. Brother, why did you only come back now? My mind went blank. I never thought I would reunite with Ava in such a way, so suddenly. I had self-hypnotized myself many times. I was just a supporting male character in this book. I redeemed the female lead for Felix, completed his mission for him, and also repaid the Ashworth family. So when he reappeared, I exited, allowing them to reach their happy ending, and the book would conclude. And I had never considered what happened after the ending. Where are the osmanthus cakes you mentioned? Ava forced a smile, tears already welling up at the corners of her eyes. That shop in North Chicago closed before my college entrance exams. She had actually gone looking for me. I didn't know what to do for a moment. I turned my head away, thinking I could ignore her reddened eyes. You don't cry. The day Ava woke up after being beaten unconscious, she had said that to me. Yet here I was, having abandoned her and returned, making her cry. Ava, don't. Enough. She suddenly got out of the car. Then she yanked open my car door, pulled something out from behind her back, and rather roughly pulled me out. Click. My right hand was handcuffed, the other end on Ava's own wrist. Her voice still held a sob. Liam, don't even think about abandoning me a second time in this lifetime. It was very sudden. Even sitting in my old bedroom, it still felt unreal. There was a red mark on my right wrist from the handcuffs earlier. Ava saw it, unlocked them, and then fiercely threw the handcuffs into the trash can. Bad thing. She was cursing the handcuffs. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but when I saw her, my nose started to tingle. She had grown taller. 5 years was enough for a young girl to mature. Ava's hair was a bit longer, with some curls, and the belt of her dress outlined her curves. The little girl from back then was now a graceful young woman. Liam. She came over and hugged me, from behind, holding me tightly, burying her head, nuzzling and breathing deeply, as if she had suffered a great injustice. Let go first. She ignored me, throwing a tantrum. No amount of coaxing worked. All she would say was, "You're going to trick me again." I was speechless. It wasn't until someone knocked on the door that the warmth in the room was interrupted. I heard that person call Ava Ms. Ashworth. That was what assistants called Mr. Ashworth when he was still around. Hello, I'd like to ask about Ms. Ashworth's marital status. Hey, what are you joking about? Aren't you the one Ms. Ashworth loves the most? You just came back. The poor girl has been alone for so many years. You two should be preparing for the wedding by now, right? The young housekeeper had always wished us well. I paused, speechless. No one here had mentioned Felix. Felix, whose engagement was a done deal 5 years ago. The original plot mentioned that everyone favored him. Even the housekeepers liked him very much. But the current situation. Looking down from the balcony, Ava was in the courtyard discussing work with her assistant, looking serious. I could only ask her what was really going on. Brother, eat this. Ava kept putting food on my plate. No need. I used to be the one taking care of you. I hesitated, then finally asked, Where's Felix? The atmosphere was instantly silent. Ava didn't speak. Or rather, Mr. Ashworth, where is he? Dead. This time she answered quickly. What? Dead? Cerebral hemorrhage. Resuscitation failed. My eyes widened. In my memory, Mr. Ashworth exercised regularly. He shouldn't have ended his life so soon. They all suspect I did it. Ava suddenly added, Brother, what do you think? Indeed, you could say I did it. She was very frank. I pursed my lips, not knowing what to say. But just then, Ava suddenly smiled, her eyes crinkling, yet devoid of emotion. He wanted to hit me again, but I fought back that time. He couldn't beat me, so he died of anger. Brother, wanna guess where Felix went after my dad died? When I went abroad back then, only Felix saw me off at the airport. Before I left, he suddenly called out to me, "Guess how Ava and I will be doing when you come back?" I didn't look back, very happy. He smiled, then came over and whispered in my ear, "Just like that day in the hospital when you saw me pushing her in the sun. By then, we should be strolling together like this, pushing a baby carriage." Ava hadn't put me under house arrest. The young girl wouldn't do that to me. She just didn't allow me to leave the house. The basement door was locked. When I arrived, the lock on the door wasn't new, but it was very clean, without any dust. It must have been opened many times recently. "Oh my, why are you here?" The housekeeper saw me and hurried over to pull me away. "Don't come here, it's not clean." "What's wrong in there?" In my memory, it was Ava's former laboratory. It had just been smashed by Mr. Ashworth. The housekeeper refused to say, "This isn't a place you should be. Has Ms. Ashworth been here recently?" Unable to dissuade me, the housekeeper finally nodded. And when I left, I already had the answer in my heart. A beast only obeys its tamer, not the showy announcer on stage. Brother, Ava was drunk. When she came back, reeking of alcohol, she clung to me and wouldn't let go. "Let go." "No, if I let go, you'll run away again." I heard a sob in her voice. Why hadn't I noticed before how much she loved to cry? I sighed, "You're watching me so closely now. How can I run?" She didn't speak. I stared at her, a thought suddenly forming in my mind. "Brother, you, be good." I carried her to the bed. Ava hadn't changed. When she was drunk, she became very obedient. I had seen a male servant costume in the closet yesterday, most likely a gift from someone trying to curry favor with her, with a new pair of handcuffs placed on top. The little girl had really become unruly when she grew up. "Why did you bring me over here?" She tugged at my clothes. The jacket was thrown on the floor. I tied the bow from the male servant costume onto her hands, saying casually, "You drank too much, go to sleep early." Ava stared at me without blinking. "Do you love me?" I looked down at her. "It doesn't matter if you love me or not." She suddenly buried her head. "I love you. I only love you. I want Felix to get out. I don't want them to stop me." By now, no one could stop her. I sighed and gently hugged her. "Who said I don't love you?" I successfully fished the key out of Ava's clothes. She was dead drunk and fast asleep, unconscious in the bedroom. Creak! This was the first time I had pushed open this basement door, which was over a decade old. I thought I would see Felix, but I never expected to see a wall covered in photos. My award certificates, my photos, the few white shirts I had worn. In the photos, there was me, newly arrived, me just starting to get used to weeding in the garden, me cooking for Ava in the kitchen. I knew there was a housekeeper who particularly liked taking pictures of us. I just never expected that after I left. The young girl had guarded all my photos alone, freezing time for so long. On the floor was an old, open notebook. I picked it up and it was open to one of a page. Liam, Liam. Densely packed, it was all my name. I found Felix in the adjoining room of the basement. It was dark and sunless, a place even rats wouldn't deign to visit. "You, it's me." He sat on the small bed. Heavy iron chains were on his wrists and ankles. He had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were dull, as if he had been locked up for a very, very long time. You are that." "I'm Liam." He took a moment to react. Then, he suddenly burst out laughing. Good, you're back. Let me go, let me go." He seemed to have forgotten that he was the high and mighty male lead, and I was just the supporting character paving his way. The story also didn't reach its original ending, but had instead fallen into this irredeemable situation. "Felix, aren't you the male lead? Where's your halo?" She looked at me blankly. Then, like a frightened mental patient, he kept shrinking into the corner. "No, I'm not. No. I'm not the male lead. Liam is. I recalled the news I finally managed to get from Ava's assistant that day. 5 years ago, Mr. Ashworth died unexpectedly. Then, Felix, the youngest son of the Felix family, disappeared, and the engagement was called off. So this wasn't a disappearance. It was Ava who made him disappear. The night I saw Felix, I had another dream. After 5 years, I saw the plot again. But this time there was nothing in the plot. No childhood Ava. No late arriving Felix. Not even me, no interaction between any characters. I only saw 3 lines of text. Female lead, Ava. Male lead, Ryan. Corrupted plot repair in progress. Punishing interfering supporting male character, Felix. Ending hint, love the one you love. Brother. Ava woke up. Just like the first day, she came in with a glass of milk, staring at me without blinking. Only, one of her wrists was still tied with half of the bow I had put on her last night. I put my hand to my forehead. Why haven't you taken off the bow on your hand? Isn't it pretty? My face felt hot for a moment. Ava took my hand, pressed her face into my palm, her voice very soft. Brother, I'm willing to do anything. Her posture looked utterly pure and harmless. But I just caressed her face, coaxing in a low voice, then let Felix go, okay? Her body stiffened, and the next second, I pulled her into my embrace. Because, I'm back. I will never leave you again. Felix had been driven mad by Ava's torment. Therefore, she also learned from him about our so-called plot and supporting characters. And Felix had deceived us. The plot was originally written by the protagonist, which is why he ended up with such a self-inflicted fate. I don't believe in the plot. Her voice was so firm. Liam, if it's not you, I don't want anyone. I had never felt so clearly the happiness of being firmly reciprocated. And now there was no one left to stop us. Felix was no different from a madman. Sometimes he would throw his head back and laugh. Other times he would wail loudly, his intelligence like that of a 3-year-old child. Ava threw him into a welfare institution, having caregivers look after him. The day before he was sent away, we were preparing for our engagement. Do you pity him? Ava asked me. I shook my head. He's not worth it. These 5 years were his own doing. So, his end wasn't tragic. It was deserved. On the day of our engagement, Mrs. Ashworth returned from the temple. After Mr. Ashworth died, she seemed to have a sudden epiphany and moved directly to a temple, saying she wanted to atone for his sins. She actually knew about the abuse Ava suffered as a child. She was 4 years younger than me, petite in stature. Liam, Mrs. Ashworth placed a bracelet in my palm. She smiled. Congratulations, you weren't deceived by the plot. My eyes widened. Could it be that you? Shoo, Mrs. Ashworth smiled. Not me, but the one who passed away. A protagonist who was not redeemed. How tragic for the next generation. That's why Mr. Ashworth vented all his anger on Ava. And Mrs. Ashworth, merely a supporting female character, bore a heavy burden of sin. Ava's future is in your hands. Brother. Ava was holding a bouquet of flowers. This time it wasn't white roses, but the most passionate red. We're already engaged. Why are you still calling me brother? Today, the villa garden was exceptionally lively. The Ms. Ashworth, who was always unpredictable in everyone's eyes, seemed like a different person today, with a smile in her eyes and at the corners of her mouth. I don't know, the young girl kept smiling. Do you remember when we first met? I also called you brother? I know, you even threw a venomous snake at me. Ava leaned her head down. Then today, it's coming full circle. From now on, I won't call you brother anymore. I'll call you fiancé. Is that okay? Of course it was. The sun today was warm and inviting, as if our scorching joy had infected the white clouds. I lowered my head and devoutly placed the engagement ring on Ava's finger. She smiled and asked me what I was thinking. I'm thinking about what the day I truly marry you will be like. In these days of flourishing grass and soaring warblers, every day of ours felt like a devout declaration of love.